CQ, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the 599 Signal Report podcast. I'm your host, Ron, W2ELS, and I am thrilled you've joined me in the shack today. Here on the 599 Signal Report, we'll be diving deep into the fascinating world of amateur radio, also called ham radio, with a special focus on the timeless art of Morse code, also known as CW. We'll explore everything from learning tips, operating techniques, gear, interviews with incredible operators, and so much more. Our goal is to bring you a 599 signal of information, perfectly readable, strong, and with a crystal clear tone. For our very first transmission, we're going back to the basics. Many of you may heard of Morse code, perhaps seen it in old movies, or even tried tapping out SOS as a kid. But what is it really? And in an age of high-speed internet, satellites, digital communication, why on earth are thousands of people still enthusiastically sending dots and dashes across the globe? Today, we're going to demystify Morse, explore its origins, understand its structure, and most importantly, uncover why it remains not just relevant, but thriving in the 21st century. So, grab your headphones, get comfortable, and let's dive into the world of CW. Let's start with the absolute fundamentals. At its core, Morse code is an alphabet, a language made up of two sounds, a short dit, represented by a dot, and a long da, represented by a dash. Invented by Samuel Morse and Alfred Vail in 1830s for the telegraph, it revolutionized long-distance communications. Instead of sending complex electrical signals for each letter, they devised a system where letters, numbers, and punctuations were represented by unique sequences of dits and das. The most famous example, of course, is SOS, which is 3 dits, 3 das, and 3 dits, often remembered as dit dit dit, da da da, dit dit dit. Each character has a specific pattern, and the genius of its simplicity and efficacy. It's not just about the individual dits and das, though. The timing is critical. A da is typically 3 times the length of a dit. The space between dits and das within a specific character is 1 dit length. The space between each character is 3 dits lengths, and the space between words is 7 dit lengths. It's a rhythm, a musical language once you get a hang of it. We often talk about Farnsworth timing for learning, where the individual characters are sent fast, but the spaces between them is longer, making it easier to distinguish letters before speeding up overall conversation. But let's save that, and we'll dive deep into that when we talk about learning techniques in future episodes. Morse code's history is incredibly rich. It was the backbone of telegraphy for decades. Then, adopted for radio communication, it saved countless lives at sea, guiding ships and sending distress calls over vast oceans. Think of the Titanic. Its distress calls were sent via Morse. It was critical in wartime communication and, of course, fundamental element of amateur radio. For nearly a century, proficiency in Morse code was a mandatory requirement for many amateur radio licensees in the U.S. and around the world. It was seen as the purest form of radio communication. In 2007, the FCC removed the Morse code requirement for all license classes here in the U.S., which led to some to believe it would fade into obscurity. Here we are over a decade later, and CW is as vibrant as ever. Why? Because it's often distinct practical advantages that digital modes voice, and even text messages simply can't match. So why do hams send dots and dashes when we have so many other options? Here are a few reasons why. Efficiency and poor conditions. This is a big one. Morse code requires a very narrow bandwidth. It's very efficient signal. This means when conditions are terrible, when there's lots of static, interference, and very weak signal, a Morse code signal can often be heard and decoded when voice or digital signals are completely unintelligible. It cuts through the noise like nothing else. Low power QRP. Because it's so efficient, you can communicate across vast distances with very low power, often just 5 watts or less. This is called QRP operations. It's a huge part of the ham radio hobby. Imagine talking to someone on the other side of the world with a setup that runs on a small battery? Morse code makes that not just possible, but often easier than other modes. Simplicity and equipment. You don't need fancy, expensive radio to send Morse code. A basic, simple transceiver, often home-built, is all you need. It makes it accessible and a great entry for those interested in building their own gear. Mental challenge and skill. For many, learning and mastering Morse code is a rewarding, intellectually challenge. It's often learning to play a musical instrument or speak new language. There's deep satisfaction in being able to copy code to participate in CW contests or having a successful QSO, a conversation entirely through dits and das. The global community and tradition. The CW community is incredibly strong and welcoming. There are clubs, contests, and friendships built around this mode. It's a connection to the rich history of radio, a living tradition that many hams cherish. It's a common language that transcends spoken languages, allowing operators from different countries to communicate effectively. The magic factor. Honestly, there's just something magical about it. To hear those faint dits and das coming out of your speaker, knowing someone hundreds, even thousands of miles away is tapping them out. It's truly unique and engaging experience that many find more captivating than standard voice communication. So, if I've piqued your interest, you might be wondering, how do I even begin? Don't worry, it's not that daunting. As it might seem, many excellent resources are available online through organizations like Long Island CW Club, CW Operators Club. There's even free apps and websites. The key is consistency. Practice listening and learning to hear the characters as whole sounds, not just individual dits and das. It's a journey, but a deeply rewarding one. In future episodes, we'll dive much deeper into specific learning techniques and resources. And that brings us to the end of our first transmission here on the 599 Signal Report. I hope this episode has shed some light on what Morse code is, and more importantly, why this mode continues to thrive in our modern world. It's more than just old communication method. It's a versatile, efficient, deeply rewarding way to connect across the airwaves. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the 599 Signal Report on your favorite podcast platform. Leave us a review, tell a fellow ham, or even send us an email with your thoughts or questions about Morse code. We can be found at the 599signalreport.com. Your feedback helps us achieve that perfect 599 signal. Next time, we'll talk about my journey in becoming a ham and an aspiring CW operator. Until then, from my shack to yours, this is Ron, W2ELS, signing off and saying 73.